to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Give me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Give me a light to light my way. Give me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Truth is the light, so light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Truth is the light, so wise men say.
So today's reading is from Autobiography of a Yogi. And this week's theme is Ahimsa. The instructive mosquitoes served for another early lesson at the ashram. It was the gentle hour of dusk. My guru was matchlessly interpreting the ancient texts. At his feet, I was in perfect peace. A rude mosquito entered the idol and competed for my attention. As it dug a poisonous hypodermic needle into my thigh, I automatically raised an avenging hand. Reprieve from impending execution, an opportune memory came to me of one of Patanjali's yoga aphorisms, that on Ahimsa. "Why didn't you finish the job?" said Sri Yukteswar. "Master, do you advocate taking life?" said Master. Yes. "No, but the death blow already had been struck in your mind," said Sri Yukteswar. "I don't understand," said Master. And Sri Yukteswar said, "Patanjali's meeting was the removal of desire to kill." Sri Yukteswar had found my mental process an open book. This world is inconveniently arranged for a literal practice of ahimsa. Man may be compelled to exterminate harmful creatures. He is not under similar compulsion to feel anger or animosity. All forms of life have equal right to their heir of Maya. The saint who uncovers the secret of creation will be in harmony with its countless bewildering expressions. All men may approach that understanding who curb the inner passion for destruction. Guruji, should one offer himself a sacrifice rather than kill a wild beast? No man's body is precious. It has the highest evolutionary value because of unique brain and spinal centers. These enable the advanced devotee to fully grasp and express the loftiest aspects of divinity. No lower form is so equipped. It is true that one incurs the debt of a minor sin if he is forced to kill an animal or any living thing. But the Vedas teach that wanton loss of a human body is a serious transgression against the karmic law. I sighed in relief. Scriptural reinforcement of one's natural instincts is not always forthcoming.
Good morning again. Lovely to see you all. Old friends and new. Of course, as you know, Wednesday was Gandhiji's birthday, and on Thursday we celebrated it with a 3-hour meditation, as we do every Thursday, but this one in particular was dedicated to Gandhiji, and the theme for this Sunday, as Dharmini mentioned, is Ahimsa. Now, Ahimsa is often translated as non-violence, and even at this level, it can be a useful concept, although it goes much deeper than non-violence, because non-violence brings to mind, it's even been translated as non-killing, and saying, okay, don't kill anybody. And many yogis on the path, when they read they don't kill anyone, they say, well, good, so far so good, and check that one off and move on to the next one. I haven't killed anybody today, I don't plan on it, so I'm good on this one. But it means much more, of course, than refraining from killing other people. And though if that's a challenge for you, definitely that's a first step. But then the next step is not to do physical violence to anyone. And I remember I had a student when I was a school teacher who had this habit of, when he got irritated, of using his fist to settle the argument. And so there was something about him, though he was constantly getting in trouble for this, there was something about him that I just liked. I mean, as a teacher, you have to like all your students, and certainly I tried. But in him in particular, I just felt he has a good heart. There's actually peacefulness in his heart somewhere. Not complete peace, obviously, because he's hitting people. But there was just something about him that I found there's more to the story. So after disciplining him enough around, sit there and, don't speak and don't hit anyone else, I tried to work with him. Because he said, I started to figure out, when people would come to me saying he hit me, I would say, and why did he hit you? I don't know. I was just innocently sitting there and he came up and hit me. Yeah, okay. So I started doing more detective work and found that some of the other boys were always taunting him in secret, knowing that he would eventually boil over and then he would get in trouble and they wouldn't. So I told him, listen, they're just playing with you. When you get that angry that you have to hit, just use your words, and especially come and tell me. And he said, but I just get so mad. I said, yes, but do you like being in trouble? And he said, no. And I said, you see, if you simply come and tell me that this one said that or did that, and you don't hit, then he will be in trouble and you will not. He said, oh, I mean, wow. And so he tried. And this one kid who loved to taunt him in secret, the first boy came running to me saying, he said this about me, he called me this name, and please do something before I hit him. And so I said, good, perfect, sit there. And I went and addressed the other boy. And so this kid learned, even after I left the school, I heard that he was learning to run around shouting for the teacher, saying, please come and intervene. I'm trying so hard not to hit him. This was a huge step forward for him, because he learned how to express his frustration in a less violent way. And of course, for most of us, this is still a challenge we've overcome. But then it becomes non-violence in even screaming, even in raising our voice, even in shouting. Even that, of course, is a form of violent expression. And I want to take away this word violence because it's such an extreme word when we're dealing with these inner realities. Swamiji translates Ahimsa as harmlessness. Having a completely harmless attitude towards everyone. Now this takes it much deeper, because are we harmless in our words, in our speech to each other? Something to look at. Master said the mouth is like a gun and the words are bullets. And in an instant they can kill a friendship of many, many years. Just in terms of our need for self-control. And I say all this wanting to present it in a light way, because I'm certainly not pointing the finger or saying, because if I did I would just be doing it at myself. Because how often do we, walk out of some nice inspirational experience and saying, yes, I will be peaceful in my speech. And then some auto rickshaw comes within 1 micron of running over us. And we say, what are you doing? Can't you see? I mean, it just comes out. You see? So we have to go deeper even than that. So even if we're working on being less harmful in our speech, then it becomes in our thoughts. There is an expression in the West, especially among Christians, that if you don't like someone or you don't like something they're doing, you can easily dismiss it by saying, well, you're going to hell. And many yogis sort of smile smugly at this, saying, oh, we don't do that kind of thing. But Swamiji pointed out, we say, you're going to get bad karma. And I hope you do. I mean, it's the same sentiment. It's sort of wanting to punish someone else or wanting to see them get in trouble. And why? Because usually there's been some hurt that's come to us or something that has displeased our ego. Now, let's skip to the end. What if we perfect ahimsa? Patanjali says in the Yoga Sutras, when we perfect ahimsa, that even wild beasts and criminals will become calm in our presence. And this happened to Yoganandaji. He and some boys were going out into the jungle with in a ox cart, and the driver of the ox cart was not paying attention to the time of day in this jungle. And it was getting later and later, and they didn't reach their destination in time. And so it was when night fell, they became very concerned. And luckily they were able to find a old abandoned shed that they could all there were sort of two sheds. There was a barn and a shed. They could put the ox and the cart in the barn and seal it, and then go into the shed themselves, because they were already hearing the tigers growling in the evening. And then they heard a particular low growl near to the shed, and the driver of the ox cart said, "I didn't bolt the door of the barn shut." And Yoganandaji thought, well, if the ox gets killed by the tiger, we are not going to be able to get home. And so he said, I'm going to go out. Who will join me? There'll be more safety if we're, together in numbers. And as Swamiji writes, you can imagine the stampede of volunteers. No one came. And so he took the lantern out into the night, and as soon as he stepped out, the wind blew the light out. And so he went over to the barn and did fasten the door, which was unfastened. And then he turned, and there was a tiger staring at him. And he was between it and its dinner that it had been planning. And so, obviously he was not as impressive as an ox and could have easily just been taken out like an appetizer. But Master said he saw in this beast, he said, the image of God is in you, and I wish you no harm, and you can do me no harm. God is loving God. And the tiger, which these other people witnessed, just rolled over onto its back. And Yoganandaji even stroked its belly, and then it stood up, and then it walked away. And so who doesn't want to be able to do that? Not just pet a tiger, but just in general, bring peace to the people around us. Now, you've probably found or are finding that that's starting to happen already with you. As you start to meditate, as you start to live a more uplifted life, as you start practicing these techniques that bring this ahimsa naturally, then you may find people around you starting to comment on it. First, they comment either how calm you are. Sometimes it begins by saying how boring you are, and then it becomes into, actually, though boring, still calm, though. That's nice. I like that. And people start to become peaceful around you. You may also find that there are politics or different things around you like they always used to be, but somehow you're not in the middle of them anymore. They seem to move around you. Yoganandaji said whenever there is an avatar on earth, it is like a calm portion of the ocean of Maya. There's a calm spot there. And people who touch that calmness also are a part of that calm spot, that calm aura. And so that calmness continues to spread. So that's the first secret in all of this, is how do we work on ahimsa? Because yes, it's a great thing to work on, and yes, we would love to be perfect in it, and we often find ourselves responding in anger against our will and so on. Simple cure: meditation. Meditation reduces the tensions, the inner tensions that get us so wound up, so that all it takes is one more auto rickshaw or one splash, and just we're ready to unleash. meditation makes it much harder for us to get that wound up for free. Not because we're meditating saying calm, 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 I'm calm. No. It's just, it automatically, on a physiological level, reduces stress hormones, yes, but also puts us back in our center. It calms our heart. It also helps us to open our heart. Sometimes we have a particular hurt that we've received, even from no one in the room, no one even around us, maybe even a year or more ago. And yet that hurt, because it hurts too much, we have locked away. And then suddenly we say, no, I'm calm because I can't feel anything. I know this has happened to me several times. Swamiji points out that when we feel emotionally numb, it is not the absence of feeling. It is not because we can't feel. It's because we've trapped a certain feeling. And that's preventing the normal flow of feeling. So when you feel emotionally numb, you can sometimes ask yourself, it's helpful to say, what is it that I'm stuffing? What is it that I've locked away? What is it I don't want to feel? Is there something actually bothering me? So that I can release it. That's all. And so sometimes when we meditate, we find a release of things that we didn't even know were bothering us. And as they pass through, they can bring up that pain, but then it goes. And suddenly we feel lighter, we feel calmer, we feel more relaxed, just, again, for free. Because we've let go. This whole time we've been walking around like this going, how you doing? Yeah. No, I'm perfectly calm and happy. I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm balanced. And it's just like, I don't think so. So, whew, I feel so much better. Why? So we're not always aware. And meditation makes us more aware. So again, in any of these things, keep in mind the freedom that we gain just from meditating. I should mention also energizing, because half the time also we can feel frustrated because we're just tired. I'm just tired. I don't have a lot of energy. So when one more thing comes at me, just, I can't handle it, get away! And so raise our energy, and it comes back. Often we've talked in the energization exercise classes, if you don't feel like doing the energization exercises, fine, just do one. The first one. And you'll find that if you start doing the first one, you get just enough energy to be able to start the second one. And then it snowballs, then it crescendos, and suddenly after 12 minutes of doing energization exercises, we think, I didn't have time, I didn't feel like it, I feel great! Look at this! Can you do this? Ha ha, no problem, I could do 2 of this, or 3! Because all this energy is back. And it makes our mood that much more uplifted. Now, when we have an attitude of harmlessness, I don't want to even wish harm to anyone, then automatically into our hearts also flows kindness. In fact, kindness is the positive principle, because harmlessness is stated in a negative way, not harming. A positive way of kindness. It comes naturally. And again, it's nurtured in the heart. Why? Because it's the heart's natural state. You'll find that this is who we are. And you see it in each other, and you know it's there. But if it's not there, that's because something unnatural has come in. And that's the whole process of meditation, is releasing all of these things that are unnatural, not part of our nature, and need to be released. Swamiji writes beautifully of Ahimsa, saying that among all other things, in terms of not wishing people harm mentally, other people, that includes ourselves. That often we're upset with others, or we're angry because we're upset first at ourselves. I can't believe I let that happen to me, is a common thought that can plague the yogi. And also just a frustration in general, just with life circumstances. And he said we should honor the image of God in ourselves. We should talk to God. It doesn't mean we can't ever feel frustration, because that's not a helpful teaching. Don't feel frustrated. Okay, now I do. Teaching over. No, it's not that. It's we can take our frustration to God and say, I know that this person hit me, but you did it through that person. Why? Why did you allow it to happen? Why did you do it? And God starts to smile and starts to joke and starts to tell you about different things. Even when you can't find any explanation for why some great wrong was done to you and was allowed to happen. Sometimes the only consolation we have, and it's a big one, is this couldn't have happened to me if it wasn't my karma, which means I had a karmic debt that had to be paid, and it has been paid. And now I am free from that debt. Never use karma in any kind of a heavy way. Well, it's my karma, and so therefore I am just stuck with it. Nothing like that, ever. Yoganandaji urged us, practically threatened us not to ever think that way. But if something unpleasant does happen, think of it as being freed of that burden so that you can move on. And so, Master said once, remember, if you hate anybody, you are forgetting that person has God in his heart. That's another way also to move through difficulties with others, is saying, well, I know the image of God is in you somewhere, no matter how hidden away, it must be in there. And so I'm going to just step back and take my grievance to Him. And maybe I'll send you blessings from afar, like way far. But in any case, all of these things again become natural as we move forward on the spiritual path. As we chant also, it opens the heart and releases these things automatically. And finally, the other thing to keep in mind about all of this is that harmlessness, ahimsa, brings a protection. When we are not wishing harm to others, we are not sending out an attitude of criticism. We criticize others, we find ourselves criticized. How about that? We judge others, we find ourselves judged. Or sometimes we don't even need others. We can just judge ourselves with no one else's help. It's not that, again, that doesn't motivate us. It doesn't encourage us. We need to find ways to encourage ourselves. When we start to have more and more harmlessness, more and more kindness, it strengthens our aura. And this aura of protection surrounds us. And it doesn't mean that if we're protected, that nothing unpleasant will happen to us. Unfortunately, in this world, there is no way to swing the pendulum of duality over to the good side and just lock it here. It always ends up swinging back and forth. But even though Maya swings, we don't have to swing. More and more, as I'm sure you're finding, we begin to feel peaceful no matter what happens. Illness comes, okay, hey, now I don't have to go to work. Now I can meditate more. Sometimes the body gets ill because we won't stop for any other reason. We push ourselves and the body, first we get a little sleepy. No time to sleep. Where's the coffee? And then we work harder and harder. You really should stop. No, I need to get this done. We get a little cold. No problem, I can burn through it. Then we get the flu or something. Okay, I can't continue. And it's the body's way of making us stop. Illness sometimes helps us reflect on life. What's really important to me? It makes us reconsider our priorities when suddenly the carpet is pulled out from underneath us, so to speak. So again, there's a positive side in everything also. But inwardly, we can be with God and not be so buffeted in the ups and downs. And that protection, therefore, is more of an inner protection. No matter what is happening outside, inwardly, I can feel that peace. And so I wanted to just close by reading this this is a few paragraphs Swamiji has written on ahimsa. Think of those occasions when people are the most likely to want to harm others, to wreak vengeance on them, or in some way to belittle them. Now I should mention he's writing this for serious devotees on the path. Their reason for wanting to harm others may be that their own egos have been offended. This mere fact puts them in the wrong right away with no further discussion. And it can be tempting to say, no, in my case, you have to understand, I was offended because... But as Swamiji once said, anything that humiliates the ego encourages the soul. And I don't mean that we should seek out humiliation or that we should just quietly take it. There is the story of the cobra devotee who found a guru and came to it and was ready to bite it, and the guru said, now listen, you get really bad karma when you bite people and kill them, and you'd be better off if you would just meditate. And the cobra said, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So he said, from now on, don't bite anyone. And so the cobra said, fine. And so he gave the yoga diksha and mantra and hongsa probably. And so the cobra went off and was meditating and so on. And some of near where it lived. And the villagers came and saw it, and they jumped away from it. And it saw them, and it just was rather calm, and the hood was fine. And so they said, you have frightened us all this time. And they started teasing it. And the cobra said, no, I practice ahimsa now, to itself, in its little cobra language. And then they started poking at it, and they noticed that it didn't even respond. And so they started injuring it, hurting it, and so on. And so the cobra slunk back to the master, and the guru said, my child, what has happened to you? Look at you. And he said, well, the children, and but I wasn't going to bite them and everything. And the guru said, I told you not to bite. I didn't tell you not to hiss. Sometimes we have to be very strong, very forceful, but we don't, as it says in the autobiography of a yogi, have to feel angry. We don't have to feel animosity. When I was a school teacher and disciplining the children, I would say, children! And they would all either laugh or they would kind of... because I didn't have that anger. They would listen, but they weren't afraid of me. And I remember one time, though, there was a little boy. It was actually the same boy who was taunting the one who ended up hitting him. This was the secret guy. And I had said to them, I don't know if you've ever had this experience with children where you tell them something and they say, yes, I heard you and I comprehend and I will follow it from now on. I haven't had that experience so much as a school teacher. It was, please be careful with the glass jars. You're carrying a huge glass jar as part of a science experiment. They were doing different things with it. Whenever you pick the jar up, please be careful. When you're walking with the jar, what are you holding? Glass jar? Right, okay. Be careful. What does that mean? Don't throw it when you're walking. So anyway, so this sneaky kid was boom, shattered everywhere. And I had been, I had been irritated with him because of this other incident of this sneaky little and all this. And I felt that. And usually if I felt irritation in my heart, I didn't say anything until I calmed down. Because I didn't want that irritation to come out. Because I had known what it was like to grow up being constantly having irritation come at you. So I thought, but this time I unfortunately did not have self-control, and I just said, whatever his name is, didn't you hear me in the glass jar and this, and all right, never mind, we'll clean it up. Everybody back away, and we cleaned it up. I turned, I noticed the kid was gone. And God. All right, everybody, just try not to cause trouble. And I went outside the classroom. He was hiding from me. And this surprised me because students never hid from anyone. They certainly didn't hide from me. They were like, you're in trouble. I know, okay, that's it, okay now. I mean, that was it. But this kid was gone. And I asked some younger kids who were outside, did you see? They said, yeah, he ran that way. So I went up there and I found him on top of sort of this tallest sort of log pole that he could get to. And he was looking at me in terror. And I thought, my God, what does your father do when you're in trouble at home? Because he was like a frightened animal, and all the anger in my heart evaporated immediately. And I just said, listen, it's fine. I know it was a mistake. Please come out. It's okay. It's okay. Please come down. Well, you can, help me finish cleaning it up and all that. So all that is to say that, if there's not anger in the heart, we can be as forceful as we need to be. And it doesn't have that same thing. People may not even like it. But if we know that in our hearts we weren't wishing harm, then it's sometimes we need to be strong, like the cobra needed to hiss. So with that long parenthetical aside, their reason for wanting to harm others may be that their own egos have been offended. This mere fact puts them in the wrong right away, with no further discussion. They may want to harm someone because some principle has been offended. They may want to punish him because he is harming others. They may want simply to tell someone he is acting stupidly or immaturely. In all these cases, one does more harm to himself than to anyone else if he acts judgmentally. The ideal is for us to go through this world without a breath of criticism or disapproval for anyone. It is, after all, God's responsibility, not ours. That attitude is the ideal. On the other hand, it is important for our own spiritual growth to develop discrimination, the ability to discern right from wrong. Without that, how can we know how best to act under every circumstance? So I would say that the right attitude is not to judge anyone adversely or ever to wish him harm, even if he should test us and others to the limit. We should wish him the best, for only with that kind of feedback to his actions can he be inspired to change. When he receives kindness from others, he himself is most likely to grow. We shall come the closest to God once we learn to see Him in all and give others the respect as children of God that will encourage them to achieve their own highest destiny. God bless you.